We're looking at section 2 now, President Adams' dilemma and how he's supposed to go about protecting U.S. ships. Some background on it. Washington is retired from public life. He's living his private life on Mount Vernon. He set the precedent or guiding action that isolationism should be the major component of U.S. foreign policy. And it's a good theory, but how well would the U.S. be able to practice it? John Adams attempted to follow Washington's policy of neutrality, wanted to stay out of the affairs of Europe. Staying neutral with France, though, is going to prove to be a difficult thing. 1793 sees a continuation of the war between France and Great Britain. They've had just numerous conflicts over the history of the two countries, and it always seems like they're fighting one another. And because of the previous alliance the United States has with France, British ships attack U.S. merchant ships that are bringing goods and products into French ports. France really sees this as an opportunity. They don't really do a whole lot to protect the U.S. merchant ships, and they're hoping that Great Britain's the actions of the Navy, and then the fact that Great Britain was still refusing to pull troops out of the Ohio Valley, would pull the United States into the conflict between them and Great Britain. So President Adams decides to send who he feels is his best negotiator, John Jay, who at the time is the Supreme Court Chief Justice, is sent to London to broker a treaty with Great Britain. The treaty has several effects, and none of them are really good for the United States. It's signed in 1794, and provides that Great Britain would stop attacking U.S. ships and pull its troops out of the Ohio Valley. The French really view this as a kind of a workaround. They feel offended that the United States would negotiate with Britain. They feel it's a violation of their previous treaty, which extends from the American Revolution. And they view the United States as entering into an alliance with Great Britain. So France then is going to take action against the U.S., and they're going to attack U.S. merchant ships that are in the Mediterranean or shipping goods in and around Europe. And as well, too, on the home front, the Jay Treaty is not popular with the American public, but it still passes with a small majority in Congress. And we see here in the, we have the American public, hang the cowards, and then we have John Jay. I promised we wouldn't be attacked by the British, but they still have to contend with the ill feelings of the public at home. So there's multiple effects to things when the government is taking action. And then kind of to top this off, we have what's become known as the XYZ affair. President Adams wanted France to end the attacks, and he sent 3 envoys or diplomats to discuss terms. So they're going to meet with the French foreign minister, Talleyrand, and he's basically going to say, no, I don't want to meet with them. Instead, he sends 3 secret agents who in communications become known as agents X, Y, and Z. And we see from the cartoon here, then we have the X, Y, and the Z. And they basically say that he's not going to meet with them unless the Americans pay a tribute, basically a bribe. And then on top of that, they have to loan France $10 million. And the illustrator of the cartoon is poking fun at the United States too, basically saying, they're naive to this, they're not understanding what's going on. I think he means, this guy's saying, I think he means a bribe. As previously stated, this becomes known as the XYZ affair. The American public is outraged by this. Congress votes to recruit an army and build up the Navy. The slogan at the time is millions for defense, not 1 cent for tribute. Congress also authorizes a half war against France, meaning that there's not an official declaration of war, but they allow U.S. Navy ships to engage in military action against French vessels, and then they also allow privateers or the public members of the American public who own boats and ships that would allow them to attack French vessels. They're privatized, and they're able to come in and help with this half war that's authorized by Congress. War fever is going to mount. War fever is a term that you're going to become very familiar with throughout American history. People are going to want conflict, and it said that they have the war fever. Adams and the Federalist Party gained some new popularity. It's important to note, too, that as we're talking about U.S. foreign policy, we step back from what's going on inside the United States. But because of this half war authorized by Adams and Congress, Adams and the Federalist Party are going to gain some popularity, which is going to allow them to kind of stick a fork at the Democratic Republicans and pass the Alien and Sedition Acts. So at the end of the day, Adams is left with, he can determine that people are behind the half war, they're behind him for that, but he has to decide that, even though this is popular, is it the best course of action for the country going forward, which we'll talk about next time when we look at how Adams solved the problem.